Hello, I am here to give you some clarifications on some items that I hate and changes to boots that Brian did. Number 3 forbidden items you should never be building on Ornn or frankly any tank. Hollow Radiance, right? Number 1 enemy. This is public enemy to the state, to every tank player. This item sucks. I don't want to see it on Cassandra. I don't want to see it on Skarner. I don't want to see it on Ornn. I don't want to see it. I've seen it in pro play so many times, it pisses me off. This item has worse wave clear than Sunfire. It has worse damage. It has worse resistances. Terrible item. I will go into detail later. The next item that I'll be talking about is Warmogs and Jak'Sho and when you should actually be building them. Because I see so many people build it at the wrong items. And every time I do, they build it at the wrong times. It makes me want to go crazy. If I'm not crazy already. Basically, Hollow Radiance and Sunfire, if you look at Hollow Radiance, you look at the immolate damage, it's 10, and then you have the passive that when a minion dies, it explodes, right? But when you look at Sunfire, it has 15 immolate damage. Why is that the case? This is supposed to have better wave clear, right? It's 100 gold more, and it has only 40 MR. The damage is lower, so that means that the wave clear is worse, because what most tanks struggle with is not killing the casters, it's killing the melees. Because most champions, when they're clearing a full wave, like Sion, Cassantes, Skarner, they always struggle with the melees because the melees have more HP. But since this has less immolate damage, the burn thing, it will take a lot longer for the melees to die than to die when you have Sunfire because the tick rate is higher. So how would the eye fix Hollow Radiance? Well, this item first of all needs more MR, so the MR would go up to 50, the HP would need to go up to 500, the immolate would need to match Sunfire, or make it have a bonus, because you see it has a 25% increase against minions, so does Sunfire. Either increase the percentage for the minions, because right now this item makes no sense to build, because you can just go Bammies, then you can go Kaenic Rookern, and then you can have Sunfire. So you'll have better wave clear, because you can actually burn. You see, the burn on the melee minions is higher, so they will die faster. And the explosions, or whatever, for the minions dying, doesn't really matter, because the minions, most tanks, clear everything at the same time. Sion will charge up his Q, Ornn will do Q, W, and E, so the minions will all die at the same time. Cassandra will do QW, Skarner will just throw a rock. The only champions that Hollow Radiance would ever be good at would be Shen, and champions that have single target, like spells. So no AoE at all, but most tanks have AoE. Like Shen is literally the only one I can think of that would actually use Hollow Radiance. So this item needs big buffs, otherwise it's completely useless. Like in teamfights, this serves no purpose. For wave clear it's worse. For MR, it doesn't do anything. Because one great thing about Kaenic Rookern is once you go Kaenic Rookern, you don't need to go any other MR item. Because let's say they have a brand and he has Liandry, Blackfire Torch, Magic Pen Boots. You have Hollow Radiance. Well, 40 MR suffice, and you just having a lot of HP when most mages right now have a lot of burns, Magic Pen options, and percentage HP damage. No, you'll need another one, so you'll be forced to go another 3000 gold of MR or another Abyssal, and even that won't be enough. Because you'll need Kaenic. There's so much magic damage. You need the biggest amount of defense against magic damage. Because of Liandry, Blackfire Torch, and champs like Brand, Lilia, Fed Carthuses, hell, even a Nudir with Liandry. Just Liandry is overpowered as fuck. And every single mage builds it. So that you always would go Kaenic. Even if they have one champion that does magic damage, you'd always go Kaenic. Hollow Radiance is not a good item, right? As a standalone MR item, you'd always go Kaenic. The next item on the agenda is Warmogs. Okay, so I've had a lot of beef with Warmogs, and a lot of people seem to be building it wrong. I see people rush it in pro play when you don't need to, because I saw Broken Blade go Bramble into Warmogs. That's fine, okay, you know what, it's pro play, it's a different environment, I'm fine with it. You know the second item we built? Fucking Jak'Sho. As a standalone MR item, if the players could read, this item increases your bonus armor and MR. You know how much bonus armor MR you have when you build Warmogs? Zero! Fucking none! The MR boost you're gonna get from Jak'Sho, let's say you have fucking 90 MR, the item is gonna give you 30% of fucking 55. Alright? Let's assume you have a couple of levels. You're gonna be at 134, man. You're at level 16. Yeah, you know what happens with 134 MR at level 16? A brand farts on you, you die. People need to learn that if you do things a certain way, if you build an HP item, Jak'Sho is a 3rd or 4th item. And honestly, so is Warmogs. This is not how a build pass works. Because one problem I used to have when I had the Heartsteel build path, because it was the only Ornn upgrade that existed. Now you can upgrade anything else, so that means you have freedom. This used to be my build path, but the problem that I would run when doing this is I had Sunfire Heartsteel Kaenic, but I would not be able to go boots because the build was so expensive, and Warmogs is 100 gold more. I would end up stacking chain vests and stacking armor because it's just not enough armor on the Sunfire, and LDR existing as well. Armor pen, black lever, shreds, whatever, right? You would need to component max a bunch. But pro players do not do that. They do the opposite. So Warmogs and Jak'Sho are items that should be built in the 3rd or 4th slot. Because they're super expensive. And you have so much better options. Like a better build path, let's say for the Broken Blades, you know, situation would be, okay, you're fighting Renekton and you need MR. So that's what he did. He got armor, he got HP, and then he got MR. But he got so fucking little that he was not tanky at all, alright? This build path would be 10 times more efficient. Because you would get your Warmogs when you already have your armor, you already have your magic resist. The items themselves give you health. This makes much more sense because you already have the resistances. Now you're making them more gold efficient. This is how it should work. You build health when you're going towards the late game, because resistances have diminishing returns. Like, you can't just build like 10 billion resistances with like no health at all. Like, you can go Frozen Heart and go like, you know, fucking chain vest, right? Because eventually the percentage here is not going to go higher. So that's when it would make sense to actually build these items. 3rd or 4th item. For me, Jak'Sho, I never build it 2nd. Ever. Never 2nd item. Because it's a bonus armor MR. The more resistances you have, the more resistances it's gonna give you. So this is a late game item. This is basically old Gargoyle. So for me, if I need extra MR after Kaenic, which is usually never the case, I go Jak'Sho and I still have a fuck ton of armor. I have a fuck ton of health. I have a bunch of everything, right? So I deal with every single threat. Or I could just finish Stormmail if I don't need it. And if I still don't need MR because Kaenic Rookern is such an overpowered item, I can't believe this item is still not nerfed. Like, the shield that it gives you for the gold that you're spending, this item is worth like 2 times the MR of any other item. It's worth more than 3 Hollow Radiances. Like, Kaenic is so good. Even when there's only one threat, you have a shield on champions that especially don't have shields or sustain, like Ornn, Cassandra. Kaenic Rookern is really fucking insane because those champions are balanced around not having sustain or shielding. Well, Cassandra maybe does, but Ornn especially, he has no shielding at all. So him having a shield makes him 10 times stronger because how he's balanced is around him having just bonus stats. No shield. Well, he used to have a shield and then they removed it because it was broken, you know? This is basically you getting that back, kind of. Because even if they only have one person, you're still blocking all of their damage. So that means that you have 700 extra health to use for the physical damage champs. So my build path right now for most games would be Sunfire, Bramble, and Kaenic Rookern. And moving on about the whole boot situation. Boots got nerfed, so now plated steel caps is 1200 gold. Mercury treads is 1200 gold as well, and it has only 20 MR. And plated now got a little compensation buff, so it went from 8% to 10%, but it's still 1200 gold. So that's really fucking expensive. So assuming with these changes, boots to me are now dead. They're a fucking scam and you should not be building them, alright? None of these boots. Like, Boots of Swifties, dead. Ionian boots, dead. The only boot that wasn't nerfed is Symbiotic boots. I guess you could go this, because it says 900 gold. But for me, right now, I just sit on magical footwear. I do not build boots anymore. Every single rune page where I had Summonary and Overgrowth second, I'm taking that shit out. Because building boots in lane right now is not really good anymore, because it's no longer like what was it, 1,000 gold? It's 1,200. That's too much for your lane. You can afford almost an extra cloth armor with that. You'll be much better off just going like, let's say you're rushing Thornmail, you can just go an extra Wardens or Chain Vest or whatever. That is so much more gold efficient, so much better, and you can just sit on your magical footwear, alright? Boots are right now dead. The only viable option is plated steel caps, but this is an item that's more built now for like the mid game or the late game, because it's now a percentage instead of just having the value on the armor, and a percentage in the lane won't make that much of a difference, because it's going to be a percentage of a very small auto attack. Because in lane, the auto attacks are just going to chip you down little by little. You're not going to reduce by a lot. Right now, you'd probably just go magical footwear and just sit on tier 2 boots, tier 1 boot, for, I don't know, second, third item. Like, I don't see a value in you finishing your boot unless you need armor and you don't have slots in your inventory. So let's say if something like this, right, you're finishing Jak'Sho, whatever, and you still don't have enough armor, you buy plated, you have an extra armor, and you can keep saving your gold for your next item. This is the only way I see that you can buy boots and it'd be worth it. Otherwise, you just buy other components. Like, players need to learn how tank itemization works. Tank itemization is just about adapting to the current threat of the game. So like 12 minutes in, your only threat is your laner, mostly 90%, and maybe enemy jungle, but you're gonna be itemizing your laner. 15 minutes in, you have to start thinking, okay, I'm gonna fight the AP mid laner, I'm gonna fight this. You have to think ahead of what you're gonna be tanking. So for me, I build MR ahead of time, so when I'm actually fighting the MR, the magic damage, I'm fucking ready, right? I have a Kaenic, okay, kill them, kill next, go next, kill the other guys. You know, I just do my thing, right? I triple brittle, whatever. And I don't die because I itemize correctly. Unlike others. So, if you want to build an HP item, if you want Warmogs, you need to make sure that you have enough resistances on both sides. So, the build path would work. Bramble, Kaenic, you have enough armor, Omar? No? Do not go Warmogs. You go Thornmail. Do you have enough armor? Okay, you probably do. If you don't, if they have like some penetrations or whatever, you can keep fucking stacking armor, getting resistances, whatever. You go Jak'Sho 4th item. Jak'Sho 4th item is fucking great. But if you don't actually need armor, if you have all that you need, here you could go Heartsteel or Warmogs. The difference between Heartsteel or Warmogs, even if you get Heartsteel late in the game, it doesn't actually matter when you get this item, because it scales off of your health on the items. So you'll already have your own upgrades. I mean, here it's not upgraded because I already upgraded the Warmogs, so this is the only item that gets upgraded. It scales with the health of the item, so even if you get Heartsteel late game, if you just need damage and health, you can just get it. But if you don't need damage, if you just need straight up health, and like you won't be able to proc it because they have range champs, you can go Warmogs 4th item. That's fine. Jak'Sho 4th item, 3rd item, that's also fine. You build these items 3rd or 4th item. You never rush them, because in lane, you're gonna farm better if you're, especially if you're fighting melees, you're gonna farm better if you have Bammy Cinder. You're gonna be farming better if you just have stats to fight the enemy. Alright? You want to focus on getting prio and getting CS advantage. I saw 5 different Renekton matchups in pro play. Renekton is one of the worst champions in existence, especially into Ornn, especially top lane, alright? Renekton sucks. Major penises, alright? It's one of the worst champions, and every Ornn I've seen in pro play is 70 CS down. When I play versus Renekton, I'm up by 100 CS. Renekton's at base, crying, because his champion, his only use, is buying a black cleaver and applying E armor shred. That's it. And even if he does that, he just gets CC to death because you have 4 knockups, alright? Like, Renekton is whatever, alright? Just gonna get my point across. Warmogs, 3rd, 4th item. Jak'Sho, 3rd, 4th item. Usually you're gonna be building Jak'Sho. Warmogs is gonna be rare because there are usually no cases where you don't need more armor and you need more and more, because once you get Kaenic and you get the Jak'Sho as a 4th item, you will see that the resistances get amplified by a lot more. I don't even have my upgrades, so I don't even have my bonus stats, but you can see the armor increases by a fuck ton and the MR actually moves. Again, this is a late game item. You do not want to be building it early game. second item, third item. Third item sometimes is fine. I sometimes do it as third item. But most of the time it's going to be fourth. Most of the time. So this is how you're going to be playing. You're going to be buying Kaenic Rookern, most tanks. Other tanks can't afford it, like Shen. They have to go Hollow Radiance. They can't afford to go Bammy and then build Sunfire and then build Kaenic. Because they don't farm as much. Some tanks don't really stack a lot of health. So they won't get a lot of value from Kaenic Rookern. So champions that are like mainly based on resistance, even then Kaenic's usually gonna be better, but if they prefer like Abyssal, because they prefer cheap items and damage, that's fine. Also, one thing about Abyssal Mask is, since it's a percentage, if the enemy isn't actually building MR, or they don't have MR, there's no point to really building it, because they won't have that much percentages to reduce, you know? If they have like 50 MR, you're gonna reduce their MR by, I don't know, math. But you're not going to reduce it by a lot, so you're only going to be getting Abyssal Mask as a secondary MR item. You never want to have it as solo MR, because it's not enough magic resist. Because, again, Liandry exists. If Liandry exists, most champions are going to have a lot of damage options. You're much better off going Kaenic, because the shield is OP as fuck. And it's only for like 400 gold more. The shield is super worth it. So for me, if I'm going Abyssal, I'm going to be going it as a second MR item. Never, never, never a first. Unless they have one magic damage and it's completely like negligible, like meaningless damage. At that point, you might as well just sit on a Negatron Cloak and just build more armor. Please go Kaenic Rookern. Do not go Hollow Radiance. Build Sunfire, alright? And if you're going to be stacking HP, try to component max any item that's not Jak'Sho, alright? Like, go Kaenic, go like a fucking Chain Vest, and then you can go like a Radwinds or Sunfire with the Warden's Mail. That's gonna be 10 times better, because you need armor to complement the HP. You need all of them, which is I don't like building HP, because every tank item gives HP. So you'll never have like, oh man, I don't have enough health here. Every single tank item gives you health. So you'll always end up with a lot, and you'll always have overgrowth. And in the situation where you don't, you'll have HP scaling anyway. So like, if I'm fighting a ranged top that's an 80 carry, and I have summonary and magical footwear, I won't have overgrowth then, but I'll still have double HP scaling. So, because I don't like building boots anymore, because they made them too expensive, I am not spending 1200 gold on plated steel caps in lane? Fuck no. That's my Bramble and my, like, I could just get a full Thornmail instead. That's much better. I can get an extra cloth armor if I need more armor. People underestimate the power of just, like, itemizing components and just building items instead of just... Okay, wait, my game's ending. That's pretty much, like, how itemization works. Focus more on components. Focus on getting as strong as soon as you can. Do not think of scaling, alright? In this meta, scaling as a tank... You will not scale, alright? Like, there's too much damage in the game. There needs to be a second durability patch. Just focus on getting as strong as possible as fast as you can. So, like, stack components, build, get your resistance subs, get your HP up. Just focus on components. Do not focus on, like, Warmogs, Jak'Sho. This shit's, like, super late into the game. Usually it won't happen. Like, if you look at my games, like, when I was in Korea, I had, like, fucking... this was my build. I had... This was it. I had boots, a Sunfire, and like 3 billion components. And guess what? It works. Because I can fight anyone at any given time. I don't need to scale. I've already scaled, practically. Because I've used my gold with my brain. I mean, now I guess I won't have boots anymore because they murdered boots. They murdered my economy, but, you know, inflation 2024. So this is probably going to be your budget build. Like, you have a lot of armor, you have a lot of health, you have a shield, you deal damage, and you have a heal cut. And you'll eventually have a Thornmail. I mean, you can also do like one build path also. I don't like Sunfire is not good in every single game, alright? So one build path I also do is Bammy, Thornmail, and Kaenic. This is what I prefer, because you get the wave clear and you get like 5 abilities, whatever. But the Thornmail is your highest damage tank item. Other than your Abyssal, Sunfire, and Heartsteel, I think Thornmail in this meta, with having so many 80 carries, this is going to be what saves your ass most of the time. So if they have a comp where they have a lot of auto attackers, and like 3 auto attackers, even 2 is fine. If they're like heavy auto attackers and your Thornmail Giga cucks them and you're fighting against them in lane, this would usually be a better build path, because you end up with more armor. Well, actually, if you go Bammy, Bramble, and Sunfire, you'll end up with a little bit more armor, but you'll do a fuck ton more damage. So you'll end up with more health this way, actually. Instead of you'll have 350 health, 80 armor if you go Sunfire, Bramble. But this way you'll have 550 health and you'll have 70 armor. So you're trading 10 armor for like 200 health. I feel like that's worth it, and you also deal more damage. So tankiness wise, the 10 armor won't make too much of a difference because you gain so much more health in return. So I would prefer this into most champions to go Bammy and Thornmail. Unless they don't auto attack, then you can just go Sunfire. And if they don't auto attack and they're not melee, then guess what? You can just not build anything. You can just build something else. Because that's the glory of tank itemization. If it's not good, you don't have to build it. It's like you don't need Warmogs Jak'Sho. You can just build something else. You can go fucking Abyssal Frozen Hardlock and you have so many options. Why are people so brain rotten to build the same shit over and over? You have options, man. There are 10 billion fucking items. Sorry, I'm having crash out. My bad. Sit on magical footwear. Adapt to the enemy. Do not build the same shit every game. Every game is different. Every game state is different. There are different threats. Just please, use your brain. Use components. Okay, so yeah, Hollow Radiance, bad. Warmogs, 3rd, 4th item. Jak'Sho, 3rd, 4th item. Sunfire, better. Kaenic, better. Thornmail, best tank item in existence for damage if you stack resistances. If you like Heartsteel, like if you're Mundo or Scion, Cho'Gath, I wouldn't really go this. Either way, just don't rush these, please. You don't need these. I hate these items. And also, how is this item still alive? Who builds Fimbulwinter? I'm sorry, like I haven't seen a single champion build this item other than Skarner and Volibear. Like why I don't build Fimbulwinter on Ornn as well. This is also a forbidden no-no item, is because number one, I don't run into mana issues because I use cookies like a smart man. I use them when I run out of mana at 0. And also, this item is good on tanks that like long fights. You name me a single tank that likes fighting for a long time and that has mana issues? That's Skarner and Volibear. Okay, well, those champions right now are kind of dead. I mean, Skarner is somewhat doable if you go like Unending Despair, Spirit Visage, and you can go Fimbulwinter, that's fine. There was also Volibear's build path. This is the only way that Fimbulwinter could be viable, but it's a 3-item spike, so it takes a while. And Volibear's kind of out of the meta, so right now nobody actually builds this item apart from Skarner. So, I don't know, this item has been sort of a failure from Riot. Like, when they introduced a tier, like a mana immune for tanks, I was like super excited, and then I saw that it was 8-second cooldown. 8 seconds in League is basically my whole lifetime that I've lived on this planet Earth, because the cooldown is just way too big, man, and they removed the Ingenious Hunter, so they kind of killed this as well. So for Fimbulwinter to be better, it would either have to have resistances in it, or have the shield scale off of your resistances, or something similar, because it just doesn't scale with tanks. Because it's current mana shield, it doesn't really like, it needs to have some sort of like, Thornmail has armor scaling, Sunfire has HP scaling, this has armor scaling, this has HP scaling, this has HP scaling. All tank items scale off of resistances, like tanks themselves. Ornn, for example, this isn't scale off of resistances, he scales off of levels and the items themselves. That's how his scaling works. Because if I just level my W, I'm just gonna get more damage from my brittle, but like me having 5 items at level 3 won't be as different as me having Doran's Shield at level 3 for my spells, you know? My spells will still deal the same damage. I don't have scalings like how a bruiser would have them. So tank scaling is a little weird. You have weird power spikes. But Fimbulwinter, like, it doesn't really give you anything. Like, once you finish it, you just get more mana and the shield every 8 seconds. Like, it needs to have some armor MR or the shield to scale off of your health or something. Because as it stands, this item is completely useless. I don't really see a point for it. Also on Ornn, you do not like fighting for a long time. Ornn actually fights for the opposite. Ornn likes fights as short as possible. Because, once again, he has big cooldowns. And his abilities are slow. So, he just wants to fight close out as fast as he can and he gets out. He leaves. Like, there's no point for Ornn to fight for a long time because even if you have 100 abilities, you're still gonna have to wait like 10 billion seconds for your W to come back, so you might as well just leave the fight, like you're done. You did your combo, you knocked them up. All you have right now is your Thornmail and Sunfire and auto attacks and Grasp, which is fine, you know, so usually that works. That's how I do it. I just kill them with items, because items are OP, right? But for the champion themselves, you need to get items that complement the champion's playstyle. Winter's approach doesn't complement anyone's playstyle other than Skarner, because Skarner is like a mana fiend and he just like fights forever, right? But other tanks don't really do that, other than Cassandra, but then Cassandra doesn't have mana issues, so I don't see Fimbulwinter on Cassandra being good, because like he doesn't need tier, it's waste of gold. Also, sitting on tier sucks, because in lane, you really don't want to buy mana, unless you have like disgusting mana problems. But it's like, it's a waste of 400 gold, it's a waste of an inventory slot, which could be used better for you to get like a null magic mantle or ruby crystal or whatever. That's 10 times more useful, so yeah. I don't see a point for this item. I don't see a point for rushing this unless you're like Mundo. Like, even if you do rush this, you're gonna have to build a lot of your basic playing catch up with your resistances, so I won't bother too much with that. And Jak'Sho, third or fourth item. Then these are bruiser items. I don't know. This is a set item. Deadman's Plate. Why is this item 2900 gold, man? Unending Despair as well. Not so good. The only reason why Unending Despair is not a good item is because it's kind of buggy. Because if they have shields, you don't get the healing. Because it counts for damage dealt. I don't know if that's a bug, but if they have a shield, you don't actually get a heal. If they have a Mar, the healing becomes lowered. If they have heal cuts, the healing becomes lowered. The passive feels very bad. Why did the old Jak'Sho passive feel better? Well, that's because it's scaled off of your total health. And I don't think it was healing for 20-50% of the damage dealt. I think it was pre-mitigation. So it was max health and pre-mitigation health healing. I'm pretty sure the old Jak'Sho, that suck was a lot better. Because like I get on any despair proc, I'm like, eh. Did it happen? Did it happen? Oh, it happened. I healed for fuck all. And also tanks, again, Ornn doesn't like fighting for a long time, which is why I don't go this and I don't go this, right? Not Knight's Vow. Like, I don't like fighting for a long time. It's just not for my playstyle, right? Whatever, but it's not for anyone's playstyle except Skarner, right? Nobody likes fighting for a long time. The team fights are short. I don't know what Riot was thinking, making items that, again, yeah, even Sunfire sometimes doesn't do that much because, again, tanks don't fight for a long time. People are immobile. I don't even build Sunfire that much anymore. I just go to Bambi because I need the wave clear. Then I just go Thornmail and boom, I'm killing people. Like, I'll get Sunfire for quick armor and right, some damage, right? Even then, you run into the problem. Fights last too little, people explode and die, and you're the last man left standing. Sometimes. Maybe you're dead too, who knows, right? But enough of my rambling, okay? That's it for me, alright? Goodbye. Hope you learned something. Now I just got mad. Now I just got angry. Nah. Fix tank items. Goodbye. Goodbye. They're not gold efficient. Goodbye. Fix them. Goodbye. Goodbye.
You like that? I do.